Most of your life is already gone. Not faded, deleted. There's a Tuesday from 3 years ago that doesn't exist anywhere now. Not in a photo, not in your head. Nowhere. And behind it, thousands more exactly like it. Ordinary days, 16 hours each, quietly thrown away. The meals, the conversations, whole years of being 6 and 9 and 14. Your brain kept almost none of it. This isn't a small gap in your memory. It's most of your memory. Most of your life, already gone. And here's the part that's hard to accept. That deletion isn't a flaw. Your brain didn't lose those days by accident. It erased them on purpose. The vacation you half remember, the conversations, entire years of your childhood, thrown away deliberately by the most sophisticated object in the known universe. The question is why? And the answer is far stranger than a brain that simply ran out of room. Because that's what most of us quietly assume is happening. We picture memory like a recording, a camera running behind your eyes, saving the footage of your life, and forgetting is just the tape wearing out, the storage filling up, the old files corrupting, the hardware getting old. It feels obvious, it's also completely wrong. Your brain is not a camera. It never was. And the truth about what it's doing to your memories right now is something scientists spent over a century slowly uncovering. It starts with a man memorizing nonsense. In 1885, a German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus did something nobody had tried before. He decided to measure forgetting. He invented thousands of meaningless syllables, untethered to anything, and he spent months drilling them into his own head and tracking exactly how fast they slipped away. What he found was so consistent he could draw it as a line. Within the first hour, more than half of what he'd learned was gone. Within a day, roughly two-thirds. Then the curve flattened. Whatever survived the first day tended to stay. He had discovered the forgetting curve. It was brutal, it was predictable, and more than 100 years later, it still holds. Your memory doesn't fade randomly. It drains on a schedule. But here's the thing. Ebbinghaus only measured how much disappeared. He never explained what a memory actually was, and when someone finally did, it broke the recording idea completely. In 1932, a Cambridge psychologist named Frederick Bartlett had people read a story, then retell it again and again over weeks and months. The story didn't just get shorter, it changed. People dropped the parts that didn't fit their expectations, invented details that were never there, and quietly reshaped the whole thing to make sense to them, without ever noticing they were doing it. Bartlett realized something unsettling. You don't store memories, you rebuild them from fragments every single time you remember. A memory isn't a file you open. It's a thing your brain reconstructs on the spot, slightly differently every time, which means most of what you think you remember, you're partly inventing, and the rest, the overwhelming majority, was never kept at all. So if your brain isn't a tape running out of room, why does it delete so much? For a long time, scientists assumed forgetting was passive, that memories just decayed on their own, like a path growing over from disuse. Over the last 2 decades, that assumption collapsed. Forgetting is not passive. Your brain spends energy to do it. It has dedicated systems whose entire job is to erase. Every night while you sleep, one of them runs. Researchers Giulio Tononi and Chiara Sorelli at the University of Wisconsin proposed that during deep sleep, your brain weakens and trims the connections it built during the day. A nightly housekeeping they call synaptic downscaling. In 2017, a study in the journal Science measured it directly. Across a single night of sleep, the physical connections between neurons shrank by about 18%, and it spared the biggest, most important ones. Even while clearing house, the brain knew what to keep. You wake up with a lighter brain. Most of yesterday quietly cleared away while you were unconscious. You didn't choose that. You couldn't feel it happen. But it happened to you last night, and it will happen again tonight. And it gets more deliberate than that. At Scripps Research, neuroscientist Ronald Davis found that the brain has an active forgetting mechanism, chemicals, including dopamine, that don't store memories but actively dismantle them. In fruit flies, there's even a single molecule called RAC1 that sets the speed of forgetting. Slow it down, and the flies remember longer. Speed it up, and the memories vanish. Your brain has a delete key. It keeps a finger resting on it at all times. So the question stops being, why do we forget? It becomes something else entirely. What is all this forgetting for? And this is where it turns. Because if forgetting were simply a weakness, then the people who couldn't forget would be the lucky ones, the geniuses, the ones living life at full resolution, missing nothing. But that is not what happens to them. What happens to them is the single strongest piece of evidence that erasing your life is the most important thing your brain does for you. In the 1920s, a Russian neuropsychologist named Alexander Luria met a man named Solomon Cherishevsky. Cherishevsky could not forget. He could hear a list of 70 numbers once and repeat it back perfectly, forwards, backwards, years later. He seemed to remember everything, and it ruined him. Buried under endless detail, he couldn't recognize faces because a face looked different to him in every light, and he held on to every version. He couldn't read easily because every word detonated a flood of sensations and old memories. He couldn't grasp a simple metaphor or follow the point of a story. His flawless memory left him unable to do the one thing memory is supposed to make possible, to understand. He drifted through life unable to hold steady work, lost inside a mind that could not let anything go. And he isn't alone. There's a rare condition identified at the University of California, Irvine, by neuroscientist James McGaugh, called highly superior autobiographical memory. The first person ever diagnosed, a woman named Jill Price, can recall almost every single day of her life since the age of 14. Name a date, and she's instantly back inside it, reliving it. It sounds like a gift. She has described it instead as a burden, nonstop, uncontrollable, exhausting. She cannot let anything go. Every old wound stays as fresh as the day it was made, replaying, never fading. The people who can't forget don't get to experience more of life. They drown in it, which finally explains why your brain erases you. In 2017, two neuroscientists, Blake Richards and Paul Franklin, published a paper arguing that the goal of memory was never accuracy at all. The purpose of a memory system, they said, is not to hold a perfect record of the past. It's to make you good at the future. And forgetting is exactly what makes that possible. By throwing away the specific, the exact Tuesday, the individual face, the precise words, your brain keeps only the pattern underneath, the lesson, the shape of things. Forgetting is how 1,000 forgotten meals become the single useful sense of what food you like. It's how you walk into a room you've never entered and already know how rooms work. The Columbia neuroscientist Scott Small put it plainly: forgetting isn't the failure of memory, it's a feature of it. A mind that remembered everything would be a mind that understood nothing, buried, like Cherishevsky, in a life it could no longer see the shape of. So most of your life is gone. That part is true. The ordinary Tuesdays, the thousands of unremarkable hours, the version of you that existed at 6 and 9 and 14, erased deliberately by the machine inside your skull. But it wasn't stolen from you. It was spent. Every deleted day was traded for something: the ability to recognize a friend across a crowded street, to learn from a mistake without having to relive it, to walk through the world understanding it instead of only recording it. You don't remember most of your life because remembering most of your life would have made it impossible to live one. You'll forget this too. Most of these words will be gone by next week, and nearly all of them within a month. That's the curve, and the curve always wins. But somewhere underneath, the shape of the idea might stay, and maybe that's the most honest thing your brain ever does for you. It doesn't keep your life, it keeps what your life was for. The rest, it lets go, so that you can keep going.